The city of Tyler wants to change how it charges for stormwater. As KLTV7's Emma Burns reports, the price would depend on how much pavement is on your property.
When rain hits rooftops, driveways, parking lots, and other hard surfaces, the water has to go somewhere. Right now, the city of Tyler charges you a 7% fee based on how much water you use to manage that runoff. Chris Cambrad, the city of Tyler's water office manager, says that method isn't fair to families with smaller properties.
It's based more on the square footage of that impervious surface, which makes it more equitable, and it distributes it evenly throughout the city and the different classes of customers.
The proposed change would base the fee on how much hard surface is on a property. The city would use an ERU or equivalent residential unit with one ERU representing 3,454 square feet of hard surface. Each ERU would cost $4.90 a month. While the median residential bill is expected to drop by 83 cents, some industrial and commercial sites will see massive spikes. The Train manufacturing plant's monthly bill would jump by more than $2,000, and the Caldwell Zoo could see an annual increase of nearly $6,000.
Your larger industrial, larger commercial customers do pay more because they do contribute more to the runoff into the stormwater system.
The proposed fee changes are slated to go before the City Council for a final vote by the end of the year, with the fee taking effect January 1st. Emma Burns, KLTV 7 News.
The city says the restructured fee is projected to bring in roughly $3.9 million next year to maintain city drainage and flood control systems.